1-2 minutes, but just let me add some more participants.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll wait 1 or 2 minutes more. Is that fine with you? Okay.
Totally fine.
Okay. Just let me. So Marisa will be recording your session. Is that fine with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we would like to put your talk on our YouTube channel, right?
All right.
Okay. Okay, I think we'll start with today's session. Good evening, everyone. I am Anirudh Vasawa. I am the research coordinator at VNC, that is Voluntary Nature Conservancy. It's an organization which works in Gujarat on different wildlife projects and conservation issues, right? For the last few years, we have been really focusing on crocodile conservation and research work here. We have been doing population monitoring for very long now, and we also doing nesting monitoring. We are kind of using modern technologies of camera traps and drones for the crocodile monitoring here. We have been studying human crocodile relation here, and we have started quite a few citizen science programs where community can interact and participate in conservation programs. Okay, so one of the program is this Croc Watch. Okay, the pandemic, we have been conducting another program that is Charotar Crocodile Count, in which we invite people from all over India to this Gujarat place, to Charotar place. Okay, irrespective of their scientific, their educational backgrounds, whether they are from commerce or arts or anything, they can come and participate in this program and contribute to crocodile conservation. But this time, this was the time then when people used to come here. This is a winter time here, so you can see a lot of crocodiles basking in this area. But because of the pandemics, we couldn't invite people here this time. So we thought of developing a online portal where people can submit data from wherever they are, wherever they are studying, or wherever they are living, or wherever they are traveling. So if they sight a crocodile, or if they are conducting a crocodile census there, and they would like to share the data with us, it's an open portal which will be open to all the people. Anybody can submit, and anybody can see the data and use the data. Okay, so we are kind of building that portal. So we are launching this event today. We have already launched the program today, and people are submitting data. And Marisa is our chief guest for the event. Okay, she was very kind to accept our invitation as the guest speaker and share the findings that her NGO, her organization, have been conducting in Belize. So Dr. Marisa is a co-founder and executive director of a very wonderful organization which is based in Belize, the Crocodile Research Coalition. Okay, it has been working on population monitoring and human wildlife interactions and citizen science program, awareness, advocacy. And I especially like their programs on that kids program that they involve kids for crocodile monitoring. So I love that program, and probably we are planning to kind of initiate similar program here. She got her BA in anthropology from University of California, as well as a master's and PhD in biology from the same university. she studied the ecological and evolutionary interaction between the parasites and crocodiles there, and got her Ph.D. Okay, she has been working for very long now. She is also a member of the IUCN Crocodile Specialist Group and has been appointed as the joint chair of the joint vice chair, I think, and Central America and Caribbean. Is that right, Marisa?
Yeah, the sub-regional chair for Central America and the Caribbean.
So I think you can add more from your side about you and your organization. Then we can start your presentation. Right, over to you, Marisa.
Right. Good morning, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you're at in the world. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Are we good? Can you see my screen?
Yes, very
Perfect.
clear.
All righty.
Yeah.
So, all right. So today's talk, it is going into a little bit more about the community science and the crocodile conservation that the Crocodile Research Coalition, what we conduct here in Belize. Already got a little bit more of my background, and in regards to the CRC, the Crocodile Research Coalition, we are a young organization. We were established in 2016. However, I've been working in country here in Belize, conducting various side projects with crocodiles since 2008. And when it came to actually establishing the CRC, it was quite easy in regard to the facilitation because I had a really good relationship with government. I had been working with various other nonprofits and NGOs, and I already knew a lot of community members. And so I think for many people, they think that we've been around just because of so much of what we've done, but it's just because I had several years of establishing various relationships and various projects that kind of helped us just launch off the ground. So the CRC, our main mission is to promote the conservation of crocodiles and their habitats throughout Central America and the Caribbean through community involvement, research, and education. And as much research that we do just as much education, and I'll get into this a little bit later. Education is really a strong foundation of the CRC in regards of we are really trying to not just get the communities, the government, and other organizations dependent on us when it comes to crocodile conservation or research, but getting people involved so that they are part of the movement forward in regards of the action plans for crocodile conservation and management. And so right now, the three species that we mainly focus on are the caiman crocodilus, the spectral caiman, as we do have research. We initiated research in Nicaragua, and we'll be initiating research in Guatemala in this particular year in collaboration with Valerie Garcia, as we establish a CRC satellite station in Guatemala this year. And then here in Belize are two main species that we focus on. And again, a little bit in this particular area in Guatemala, as well as the Morlet's crocodile, Crocodilus morleti, and Crocodilus acutus, the American crocodile. So for those that do not know where Belize is, because I can say many, many, many years ago, I was actually not quite sure myself, is because it's a small little country in Central America. It's only 22,000 kilometers square. And I'm excited to say that this past year or two, we finally hit 400,000 people in the whole country. Yes, 400,000 people in the whole country. So we are a small country. It is kind of, sometimes it just feels like a big village. Everyone kind of knows each other. In regards to that, with the lower population, we still have so much habitat. Belize is a very diverse little country, and it's about 60% of the land and the marine area in regards of the protection. So we have a large chunk of Belize territory territory that is actually protected in the marine as well as on the land. Now, where the CRC, where we're established, we do work throughout the country, but we are established in southern Belize in the Stan Creek district, and we mainly focus on the Placencia Lagoon. And when it came to establishing the CRC and speaking with government, they were kind of like, you know, have you ever thought of maybe Placencia area, Placencia Lagoon? And I was like, I mean, I've always loved southern Belize. I wouldn't mind establishing the CRC down there. And it was mainly because at this point, government, along with stakeholders, they have been working really hard in trying to establish the Placencia Lagoon as a wildlife sanctuary. Placencia Lagoon is home to various critically endangered species. Here in Belize, the American crocodile is considered critically endangered, along with the Antillean manatee, jaguar, tapir, and the critically endangered yellowhead parrot. So this place is really, really important when it comes to conservation efforts, because it is actually one of the last strongholds for several critically endangered species here in Belize as well as in the region. And in regards to our research, we kind of go through this ideal of translational ecology. So pretty much all the research that we're doing, it's not just to do research. There's an end goal to make some type of conservation or management action plan utilizing various fields of science. And our goal is looking either at local, national, and regional policy making in regards of utilizing our research. So our research, again, it has a goal, not just to publish science, which is great, and there's nothing wrong with it.
I think we are again having a problem with the internet connection at her side, at her end, but let's wait. I think.
Hello? Right back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You all are getting the true Belize experience with our internet right now.
Okay, no problem. I think we can understand. Huh? Country so small, handling so many
All
people,
right.
difficult. Okay.
All right, so let's, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so let me get back into the PowerPoint. All right. Thank you, everyone. But again, welcome to Belize. All right. So here in Belize, as well as what we find in the Placencia Lagoon. So we do actually see both the American crocodile and the Moralett's crocodile here in the Placencia Lagoon. We also do find hybrids. Yes, hybrids are a thing, because there are some people that still don't understand how two different species of crocodilians can reproduce. But what we've actually found is there's actually these hot spots in southern Belize where you catch an individual and you're like, what is that? You just cannot truly identify the species. And this is where genetics is really going to help us. But here in the Placentia Lagoon, we mainly have our American crocodile. So the American crocodile mainly can be found along the coast, the Keys and the Atolls. The average max size is about 4 meters, primarily a fish eater. And the IUCN red list status for its region, which goes from the tip of Florida all the way down to South America, and it is found along the Atlantic coast as well as the Pacific coast. It's considered vulnerable. However, here in Belize, based on the last thorough population survey conducted in the 1990s, it is considered critically endangered. And because it prefers sandy or beach areas in regards of nesting, and this is a very popular spot for development, especially as tourism increases, the American crocodile is a major threat as it's losing a lot of its nesting habitat. The Marisa Tellez crocodile, this is mainly found in freshwater lakes, rivers, and streams. The average max size is about 3 meters. Again, we do see it in brackish water, so we do see Marisa Tellez crocodiles ever so often in the Placentia Lagoon. It's mainly an aquatic and terrestrial feeder. So this is the species of crocodile that can transverse on land for a few kilometers in a day to go from one body of water to the next. So we do know that it does feed on small terrestrial species here in Belize. And its regional red list status, as well as here in Belize, it is considered least concern. And in regards of crocodiles here, and so this is now kind of going into the meat of our community science program, is years ago when I first started to work in Belize, as I'm originally from the United States, there was a really deep fear of these animals. And I've always asked and I've always wondered, how did this happen? Is this something that stems from some type of traditional or oral stories passed from some of the first people that were here, such as the Maya? Where did this develop of fear and lack of wanting to tolerate these species around? Like where did this arise from? Because if there's a lack of education or lack of appreciation or support for animals in a particular area, for wildlife in a particular area, such as crocodiles, this is going to make conservation efforts pretty difficult, because what is going to ensure long-term management and conservation success is not necessarily policy making, is not necessarily a particular organization. Yes, that's going to help, but it's going to be the people that are going to make the change. And so this, to really try to ensure a successful conservation and management action plan, as well as, in a sense, our community science programs, I was really interested in understanding where the fear and lack of education stems from. And so this is when, years ago, I started to dig into the past, and I started to dig into the relation of the first people here in Belize, the Maya. And interesting enough, the Maya had a very deep connection and reverence to crocodiles. When you look at the Maya calendar, which became very famous in regards to the world ending in 2012, I think they messed up and meant 2020, but when you look at the calendar, the first symbol is the god Emish, a crocodile, because to the Maya, crocodiles were not a symbol of death. They were a symbol of life, fertility, and they actually believed that the world sat on the crocodile's back. And we were all humans, we were made out of crocodile blood, and it is because of this crocodile that which the world sat on. There was a story in which there was a sky monster that wanted to devour the earth, and the crocodile sacrificed himself to save the earth. And when the blood hit the ground, people So it was considered sacrilegious. It was disrespectful to just kill crocodiles or look at them in a way of fear or disgust, because that was an ancestor. That was someone in a sense of your family past. There was that connection. Interesting enough as well as, you know, a lot of times fishermen, oh, no, don't go in that area. There's crocodiles. And for the Maya in the past, as well as the Maya today, they will actually look for crocodiles in a river, because crocodiles, knowing, especially American crocodiles, mainly a fish eater, crocodiles are going to be where there's a good source of food. So they also kind of felt that the gods gave them crocodiles to help lead them to good fishing spots. And even some of the local Maya today, they will spearfish around crocodiles. And they're smart in the sense that they've also come to understand the ecology and behavior of these animals. They do know that these animals are more active in feeding, you know, during the crepuscular hours, so sunrise and sunset. So most of the Maya, they actually will spearfish in the middle of the day. When I've spoken with them, they discuss, they're like, no, the crocodiles are not going to attack. You know, they're sleeping, you know, and we leave them alone. You know, they give us our space and we give them there. But again, there's still just kind of that, even though there might not be a deep respect for the animals, there's just this kind of understanding and tolerance of them being there. And also, again, this is trying to understand the past relations and how it's changed to come to where we are now. What's also very interesting is the crocodile was one of the only animals which connected the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. So the crocodiles connected to the heavens in one way, in a sense that they were they provided communication from the gods to the Maya when the rainy season was coming. And this is because here, when the hatchlings of the American crocodile, when they hatch, it's usually at the beginning of the rainy season. And so the Maya, they felt that the gods were talking through the crocodiles to let them know the rainy season has begun. It's time to plant. Maybe it's time to harvest a particular tree bark. It is time to celebrate the rains have come. They were connected, the crocodiles connected the earth for various ecological reasons. They saw them as, you know, keystone species that help to keep the ecosystem in balance. And then connected to the underworld. And so even today, you still might find crocodiles in caves here, and crocodiles utilize the caves as a passageway from one body source of water to the next. But for the Maya, when they would see a crocodile in the cave, it was that crocodile was waiting for a spirit of someone who had just passed away. And when this crocodile would move into the cave, that is because it was now guiding that spirit to the underworld, to Shababa, to meet with the other ancestors and the gods. And so again, there was this really, really deep connection and reverence to crocodiles. So how did this get lost? Well, let's move hundreds and hundreds of years here. And this is a quote from a British general in the late 1800s from a report in regards about Belize, which was colonized by the British and known for as British Honduras until we gained our independence in 1981. So alligators, or crocodile, of large size infest most of the inland lagoons and provide good sport at the outstation. So in the late 1800s, which we don't see here today, you could take out a flashlight, a torch, and shine, let's say, across the Placencia Lagoon, and it was a sea of red eyes. There were crocodiles in every body of water. But then this started to change, moving decades forward into the 1940s, 1950s. You have World War II. You know, people were utilizing crocodile skin during the war in regards of just kind of like a little bit more of armor. And then that switched into the fashion industry. And not only did we see decimation of crocodiles here in Belize, as you know, we saw it around the world. Populations were many populations were going extinct of crocodiles. And that also happened here in Belize, where it became very rare to find crocodiles. And then we move into the 1960s. And it was in conjunction with jaguar hunting, it was also trophy hunting into finding crocodiles. So utilizing crocodiles for a source of income, they're vermin, they're pests. We don't need crocodiles. This is a good source of income for, again, for those trophy hunters, for the fashion industry. There was that loss of respect because there was just dollar signs put on these animals. And also during this time, under British rule, there was a pushback of local people to not be engaged with the natural environment here in Belize. So you had, many Maya villages, and at that point, smaller Creole villages. There's various ethnicities here in Belize. And so people that had a connection to nature, that understood nature, they were told, nope, you cannot make conservation decisions. Nope, you cannot make management decisions, And so there was this also, this putting that education and fear and just a lack of interest of nature. And this is where you kind of start seeing more of that disassociation with nature, but also it's just like, well, they're telling me that that animal, that crocodile is a pest, it's vermin, it's not needed here, it's going to kill my livestock, it's a man killer, which our species are so timid and shy. We go into the water with them for our research. And I'll give an example later. But just putting that fear is what also has caused that disconnect between people and nature or crocodiles. And so it was, years ago, so let's fast forward now, 2016, 2017, CRC is really trying to get things going and trying to educate. Because for that's been deemed as a monster from Hollywood, social media, poor news, reporting. If we can get people to respect this animal, maybe, for me, it was like, how easy would it be to then get people to start looking at nature and trying to rebuild that connection between people and nature. And one thing that was just really interesting, that really kind of sparked me to get more community involvement and really initiate this community science program was, I got a call one day and it was, Marisa, I see a crocodile. Okay, what is it doing? It's swimming. Okay, is it swimming towards you? No, it's swimming away. Okay, what's the problem? It is this, the crocodile is being a crocodile. Again, our species are timid and shy. Even the large American crocodiles, they don't want to do anything with people. And so that's when it was like, okay, we need to really push education and getting more people involved, because they just thought crocodile, bad, get it out of here, even if it's being in its own natural environment and not actually interacting with communities or people in a negative way. So again, this is where really, even though we kind of started the community science program, we were like, we need to push education so that people are actually interested in wanting to be involved with our community science program of crocodiles in the Placencia Lagoon. So this is how we kind of went about it. So we started to go to all the schools, and for us, again, in our little community of Placencia Lagoon, there's probably about 15 to 20 schools around the lagoon. And for me, I didn't want, okay, we're going to visit one school every couple years. It was, we're going to visit the schools during Croctober, and we're going to visit the schools either during the month of March or of April in conjunction with World Wildlife Day or Earth Day. For us, education just can't be one time, because all that information is going to go in through one year and out the other. And so we have to make this continuous, we have to impound it. And this is also where we've used, Facebook and social media, because Facebook is really, really big here in Belize. And so, of course, for the kids, you got to make education and learning about crocodiles fun. So again, the whole thing, oh, crocodile eat people. No, they don't eat people here, okay? They don't eat people here. And so we have, to your upper left, we have one of our games. We just call it the stomach, and people love it. And so again, this is a good way to teach kids as well as adults what crocodiles here in Belize eat. So they stick their hand in the crocodile mouth. We put some spaghetti or chow mein to make it feel gross, and it seems like they're feeling guts of the crocodile. And we put some little toys in there, such as crab and fish, and they have to guess, okay, what is this prey item? And if they get out of 3 right out of 5 guesses, they get a little prize. Like, the kids love it just because of that gross factor. Then we have our ambassador when we go out and do various community events, because, if it's, Lobster Fest, the Placencia Art Fest, we have a booth, we're there. And so this was the picture to the right. We have our blow up pool croc known as Dwayne the Croc Johnson. He has become a little celebrity. Here in Belize, you cannot utilize live wildlife education. And so we have to get really creative and, really engaging people. And people love Dwayne. So obviously this picture is pre-COVID. We were sharing the kissing booth with the Placencia Humane Society, and people were coming by and taking and it's just kind of getting that little bit of laughter. And this was also a really great way that we educate. We also started implementing monthly trash pickups, because if we're talking about crocodile conservation, you also have to start thinking about habitat. What is the purpose of pushing crocodile conservation if it's lost its habitat, if it's lost its prey species, if its habitat is full of trash, and all these animals can really eat our trash? And so we've been implementing trash pickups, and this is something that we've still been able to do at a smaller scale even throughout COVID. But also, it's not just that appreciation of crocodiles, it's that appreciation that we also need to preserve habitat, because if we preserve the habitat, we can preserve crocodiles. And so we've also, with one of the communities, we've made various educational signs and awareness signs in regards of trash pickup, and again, just other types of games for events, as well as when we go around. And something that we've seen over the years, I love this picture with this little girl, Dwayne the Croc Johnson, is, you do get this familiarity, and we are seeing a shift of the younger generations. And yes, you got to hit the younger generations, but I also say you have to hit the adults as well, because those are the ones that are the policy makers right now. And those are the ones that are going to also kind of push in decision what's going to happen to crocodile habitat and how to react to crocodiles. But this picture too was pretty inspirational for me, in a sense that this young girl, there was a little boy that was starting to come around and wanted to take a picture of Dwayne. And she said, "What are you doing? Croc work isn't for boys, it's for girls." And I just was like blown away. But there was this mind shift, because it is something where I felt that not only are we just making a change for crocodiles, for the habitat, but young girls are seeing myself and some of the other women that work with us and are starting to realize, like, hey, I can do that as well, because there was always this previous shift that field work and working with certain animals is more for men. And so this is also something that we're starting to see, this shift in change in regards of, who can actually go out and do field work. Another way we've been able to kind of be able to further push the community science program, and just that education is through our wildlife youth program, Next Gen Croc. And this is honestly probably my favorite part of the CRC. I love mentoring, the young generation, the next generation of environmental leaders and wildlife advocates, those wildlife warriors. And so we have, it's kind of an honors club per se. So we have a range from an 8-year-old that speaks and has the knowledge of a 15, 16-year-old comes to science, and then all the way to 14 years old. And we have Erica, who is in the black and white picture to your left, the young blonde girl. She's been with us for about 3-4 years. These students get involved in manatee and crocodile necropsies. We get them to do various arts and crafts or educational type of material to provide to the communities. And they also are very involved with our drone project. So these young kids know how to fly the drone, put it together, how to analyze the data. And they've been fantastic advocates, not just for their classmates, but for their families as well, in regards of pushing that crocodile education and conservation. And it was really pushing that crocodile education in the community. And after, a year or two, and people just kind of like, oh, Marisa, I saw this really big crocodile in the northern part of the lagoon. I was like, oh, really? Okay. Could you try to get a picture of it? What was it doing? You started because of this just pounding the education. We were no longer getting calls of fear, of removal or relocation. We were now getting calls of people really interested and wanting just to let us know that they saw a crocodile. And so it was really through Charlie, who is the crocodile you see here. He is the one, because he loves parading himself around along the Placencia Peninsula. He's the one that kind of helped us with the local community and starting our community science program. And it was through our community science program and starting to gather information from various people messaging us, calling us in regards to the crocodiles that they saw, we started to realize that certain neighborhoods had their neighborhood crocs. For example, we have little Gordita, who has this one little area in a cove, and we called her Gordita, which is little fat one in Spanish, because when we actually caught her to tag her, she was eating, and then after we got all of our data, we put her back in, and she just went back and started eating again. So, and she was a little hefty thing. We also have Gil. Gil is more of a Morlet's crocodile, and he, again, kind of shows himself around. He has a sunning spot. This is a sunning spot in someone's backyard. And then we have Chupacabra. So again, kind of a Spanish term. In Mexico, there's a legend about a monster that eats goats. And so this was a crocodile that has territory near one of the hotels, and he likes eating the feral cat. So that is a picture of a cat. But this is, you might hear people, oh my God, I got a cat. This animal needs to be relocated, but people just kind of see it. It's like, well, what's the difference between a feral cat and one of the raccoons or one of the smaller agouti that we have in the area? And so the security guards, they just kind of been taking information for us, because they've kind of, they're like, oh, this is our hotel croc. This is our little neighborhood croc. They've kind of, you see by naming some of these crocs, there's this neighborhood pride, and you get more people that want to be involved. We also have Jeff the croc, and Jeff he's a really interesting story in regards of there's 2 kids that started noticing that Jeff loves sunning in their backyard, and they started to take behavior data. And they now know when he feeds every 3 weeks. He likes to eat iguana, raccoon. They do have dogs, but when it comes to that time when Jeff starts hunting, they just make sure that they bring, they're taking more care of a watch of their dogs. There was one woman that wanted Jeff removed the whole neighborhood got together and said, you're not moving Jeff. And if you move Jeff, we might get, you know, a croc that's going to be more aggressive and stuff. And so it wasn't even us that had to come in and educate, because you have neighborhood educating. And Jeff, I will say, someone moved into the neighborhood and people told them, there's a croc. Do not let your dog go in the canal, especially, you know, between the hours of 5 and 7, you know. And Jeff took that little dog. And again, usually that if someone's dog is taken, you know, oh, well, it's habituated, it needs to be removed. That we never got a call about this incident, and it's because the neighborhood said, we warned you, you're living in croc territory. This is not fault of the crocodile. This is your fault for being a bad owner and not wanting to listen to the education. So again, it's just kind of also illustrate. So our community science program, it's being a bit more successful, but it's also kind of illustrating the success of some of the education efforts here around the Placencia Lagoon. And of course, you know, we have the big guy, El Patron, the jefe, the boss. We have Charlie. Charlie shows himself, he's about he's more than 4 meters. He's about 4.2 meters. He lives in the northern part of the lagoon. And Charlie is the perfect example of an American crocodile and its behavior. You know, there have been times we're doing kayak surveys and we've literally have run over Charlie, and he's just kind of like, I don't want anything to do with you guys. I'm going to swim away. And just how he, in a sense, interacts with people that live along the coast. But he's our most famous crocodile in the Placencia Lagoon. We have tons of data about Charlie, and it is because of our community scientists, because we can't be out there all the time. And it's because of our community scientists we know of Charlie's favorite feeding spots during the month of October. We know he actually gets more active in a particular area in October. And this is not just great information in regards of behavior and dispersal patterns of Charlie, but this also gives us a chance to also just put out there into the community, hey everyone, it's October. We know that Charlie is more active during these hours, during, you know, in this particular area. So everyone just, you know, make sure you're not going into the water at this time. Watch your pets, watch your small children. And so it's a way to also, this information is being useful because it helps us to mitigate any negative human crocodile interactions. And in regards of Charlie too, you know, he really is kind of, we're kind of putting him as this like poster child of the Placencia Lagoon. And this was a post that we did in Croctober. And the picture to your right on the top, it's of Nessie from Loch Ness in Scotland, you know, the very famous monster everyone's always trying to kind of see. And so for us, we're like, well, we have, in a sense, our own Nessie. We have Charlie, you know, and there's one of the restaurants here. They're like, oh, maybe we can do something, you know, if you spot Charlie, we'll give you a shot kind of thing. So he's like, we're kind of, you know, increasing his local fame a little bit. But again, this is kind of also gaining people's interest and gaining more people and giving us information for our community science program. So the data that we're collecting from people, it's very simple. You know, we ask people for the date. We ask people for the general time, the general location, the neighborhood of the crocodile. You know, because sometimes we are getting tourists also sending us information because we have signs around the peninsula that are saying, hey, participate in our community science program. If we can, you know, there are some of the community scientists, they're able to start identifying these crocodiles. And so we try to ask them, you know, were you able to ID the crocodile, or could you take a picture so that maybe we can try to identify? And then of course we ask them, what was the crocodile doing? And so this kind of, you know, through this community science program, what we're seeing is it's not just gathering data for crocodiles to help us with our local conservation efforts, gathering the data that we need to push forward in creating the Placencia Lagoon as a wildlife sanctuary, but we're also starting to see an increase of local and cultural pride in crocodiles. It's kind of, we're in a sense almost trying to revive that pride and that reverence of the first people. Now, it may never get there, with what has happened in the past, and now just like with technology in the modern world, it's likely never going to get what it once was, but we can just strive for a local pride and a tolerance and that education to be able to coexist with crocodiles. And going more into the whole community science and just is that conservation is not just about wildlife, it's about people. And so that's one thing that we're really trying to bring into our community science, is that this is not just about the crocodiles, but this is also about providing that education, getting that community involvement. So conservation is not just seeing the it's not just CRC, it's just not crocodiles. This is a community effort. And if we are going, in a sense, to save the crocodiles of the Placencia Lagoon, which is going to have an umbrella effect for the manatee, for the mangroves, for the coral reef, because for us, if the mangrove is cut down on the western side of the Placencia Lagoon, we can say goodbye to water quality. We can say goodbye to various ecotourism businesses, because so many people depend on this lagoon for their livelihoods. And so that's something that we try to really bring in, that this is not just about the wildlife, but this is also our community science program. This is about the people as well, and to ensure a future for the next generation. And a couple of years ago, Belize was really trying to push this. And they made a really fantastic poster about it. Is just, imagine Belize without wildlife. Wildlife is our culture and our identity. Our actions will determine their future. So, as we communicate in regards of our community science program with the crocodiles here, it's just, also just trying to instill, if crocodiles, if we lose our habitat, if, with the mangroves, if we lose crocodiles, this is not just like, oh, crocodiles went extinct, oh, the mangroves are gone. Like, this is a piece of who we are that goes forever as well. And so when you kind of discuss in regards of education with that, and like in discussing and communicating that this will have an effect on you as well as your future children, this kind of also starts to get people to be a little bit more empathetic in regards and interest in regards of local conservation and management efforts. And just to kind of end my presentation there is, I come from an Indigenous background, and one thing that kind of pushes is at the very base of our whole education program and our Placencia Lagoon community science is a quote that was passed down to me from my dad, and it's kind of an anonymous Native American quote. It's just that we do not inherit the land from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So a lot of our efforts, it is in a sense kind of thinking of the now, but again, is understanding the past to understand where we are in our present to make a better future for the next generation. So thank you very much. I know with the issues of the internet, we've kind of I went a little bit longer in a sense of the whole presentation. So hopefully there's still enough time for questions and any discussion. And if we go a little bit over, my email is there. You can look us up on the Crocodile Research Coalition. I'd be happy to discuss any other programs we have in regards to the CRC.
Oh, thank you, Marisa. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I think it was quite, revealing in terms of cultural differences between India and Belize, where we have, we are doing work. So I could find some similarities between Belize and India, like in terms of mythology. In India, we have also a mythological concept that the earth is placed on a turtle's back, actually, you know. So yeah, so it's, and I think we have enough time to take questions. So if anybody wants to ask questions to Marisa, we will take it. Just raise your hand. So there is a hand button on the top or somewhere in the screen, which you will click. Okay, so if someone to ask questions, please raise your hand, and we'll unmute your video, the sound. And anyway, I would like to ask you a question, Marisa, from myself. Okay, I just wanted to know more about your this next gen Croc program. Okay, and I just wanted, like, what kind of activities the kids do, you know, like how they are, you know, like I could see some of the from the pictures that they are, you know, kind of monitoring through drones and some other work, but I really want to know more about that program. Can you shed more light on that?
Yeah, so our Next Gen Croc program was established in 2016. And as I had mentioned, it's more of an honors eco-environmental club. And so there's a small group, and these are all students or kids from the peninsula, from various schools, from various backgrounds, that, I mean, they really want to get into science or just something with wildlife. For example, Erica, she wants to become a wildlife rehabber. We have Preston, who wants to become an environmental scientist or a researcher, and he's 11 or 12. And this kid is probably, if he keeps going, he's going to probably be like win a Nobel Prize one day. You know, he's amazing. And so, but again, students that have various interests, but you know, they do very well in school, because that's one thing I always tell them is, like, I don't want to do anything, go out on an activity and you're going to start seeing your grades drop. You know what I mean? So that's something that we also monitor as well. But the main project that these students are doing is the monitoring of the manatee and the crocodile population of the Placencia Lagoon utilizing drone technology. Okay. So they come out with us, they put the drone together, they set it up to what grid and what area, and then they fly. And, you know, you have one student that's making sure a bird's not going to take the drone down. You have another one looking for animals while the drone is in flight. And of course, they analyze the data as well, and they have learned how to input data. My goal was, and I'm hoping it can still happen, but I was going to actually have a few of the students come with me to the Crocodile Specialist Group in Chetumal, and they were going to present on their work. And so it's also giving them that experience of what it's like to interact with international experts. They also come out with us to do crocodile eye shine surveys. And so they have learned how to, you know, spot the crocodiles. They know how to input that data in the data sheets. They have come out with us a couple times for capture surveys, you know, and again, they're learning how to use the GPS, how to use the refractometer, you know, how to start identifying the two species. And so this is something that they just we try to go out at least twice a month. It's been hard with COVID, of course, because, you know, minimized gatherings and curfews and stuff. And so, but we've been doing little things with them here and there. And then, of course, we also make sure that they come out with us for educational outreach at events, because we, you know, so that they can start learning more of the talk as well in regards of how to communicate with people. Because it's just not, when you communicate with people, it's not, in regards of education, it's just not spewing out facts. It is, you know, you need to have a conversation. You need to be at the same level with these people so that they are more willing to listen to you. And we see that with a lot of our students, that they are now communicating conservation in ways that are better than some adults that I know.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. I just have one more question. Do the parents really worry about getting their kids involved in such program? You know, like they're getting in the field, you know, kind of going a bit closer to crocodiles. So do the parents worry? Do they tell you that they're worried about their kids or what?
You know what? I guess I have some really cool parents because they're all for it. They're like, yeah, get them involved. It's totally fine. You know, they're Erica has been with us when we've transported, let's see, like a 3-meter croc before. Like she was on top of it, of course, with somebody else. But the parents obviously know, like they very much trust me. And I've never actually, all the parents are like, yeah, just get them a bird, you know, the manatee. Like they're just kind of put the kids involved with the wildlife. So that's been something that's been really lucky for us.
Oh, that's great to hear that thing. Let's see if somebody has raised a hand or not. Oh, I don't see a hand raised. So everybody is, very clear about your presentation, I think. So anyways, thank you so much, Marisa, once again. Thank you so much for, joining us for such a wonderful session and, kind of, telling about your organization and the work that you do. And I have been following your work for very long now. And I said, I really, appreciate what you do there in a very small country. I think probably let the work that is less appreciated in other parts of the world. I think people are kind of getting involved in such programs. People really appreciate such programs now. So, and of course, I'm really interested in kind of learning about your next gen Croc program. And actually at VNC we were also thinking kind of developing a similar program here. Yeah, but again the problem is like about the safety of the kids and the permissions from their kids. Kind of not, it's not like Belize. I think people's parents are really strict, kind of really they would worry about kids, no? So we are working on that, but it was kind of nice to interact with you. So thank you so much again, Marisa. Okay.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.